Hey everybody, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all the Zwift racing tips and tricks. We're here with Outside the Draft with my co-host Jordan and Jackie. Jordan, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Rick?
Good, hanging in there. Jackie, how about you?
Doing pretty well, thanks. Chicago weather has finally decided to stop trying to kill me this last week, so love it.
Yeah, I know we can walk outside again. Jackie and I only live like an hour away. Jordan, we don't want to hear from you in in,
No,
in Tucson. You
it's
can just
it's
keep it to
getting
yourself.
hot now. It's getting too hot. It was
What?
like it was like 86 yesterday in American money. That's getting a little spicy.
In American money, I like that.
Yeah, I've
Well,
learned.
all right, so what have you guys been up to? We're on a hiatus. We took a little break, and we're going to talk more about kind of what's coming up for Outside the Draft later. But Jordan, what have you been up to these past couple weeks?
It was nice to finish out the Zwift League, the Premier League, with a good result for Team Finesse. Our best result of the season. We came seventh in the final team time trial, kind
Nice.
of in with a shout at the top five. So that was a big improvement for us, and that was a good way to finish. And since then, I took a little break after that, a couple days off, and starting to move into some more outdoor volume, like doing some real big rides. To start to lay the foundation for the road season, because all of a sudden there's a lot of positivity about the season happening, racing starting in all the different states, even California. So it's time to get to work. And yesterday I did a 215-kilometer ride. So we're putting in the work.
Yeah, that's a big ride. So I mean, you're thinking because last time we talked, you were talking like August the season would start, but now it's looking like you're gonna have a spring season.
I think that we'll have a local spring season in a lot of places. Like all the local crits and stuff will start up in the next month or two. And then our first races on the calendar are in early June. And then it's sort of like a pretty consistent build. All the races that I focus on are in like August, September. They put all the stage races like later, which will be interesting. But I usually ride well at the end of seasons, so I think it'll be good. I'll be racing in October, actually. That'll be new.
Are you coming to Tour of America's Dairyland? Come on, we'll come meet you.
Have you seen me sprint? It's a
No,
lot
but
of
I
crit.
will come and watch you sprint though. Intelligentsia Cup,
I
Dairyland. Well,
think I might come to Intelligentsia. That's on our calendar. You should come to Tulsa Tough, Rick. Like I
well,
know Oklahoma is a hike, but that is the best race to watch.
yeah. I mean, I feel like not driving 7 hours would be a better race to watch. Like you come to me because I'm selfish,
Right,
is my
right. Okay.
preference.
I've always wanted to come to Chicago, so you buy me a deep dish pizza and I'll come.
You got it, man. You got it. Let's do it. All right, so and we'll probably just skip over Jackie. I know nothing happened in any of her races the past couple
We're good.
weeks. Just
The
no, seriously,
usual.
Jackie, let's hear it. Let's hear
Yeah,
about the victory.
so my last 2 weeks, I finally finished with all of my classes for med school, which freed me up to do the last two races of the Zwift Premier League, and that was a lot of fun. So for the last race, Saris the Pros Closet women came in sixth. That was a great result for us. And then the seventh race, I actually came in a surprise first. It was my first race back, Libby Hill. I have a love-hate relationship with that hill, but it was really, really fun, really, really great. Great opportunity to just stand out of the saddle and see what I could do at the end of a 40-minute race.
Yeah,
Very, very excited for that.
and all the viewers got to get tips on how to ride Libby Hill from the literal best rider of Libby Hill. So I mean, pretty
Pretty
good.
good.
Best
Yeah,
virtual
dude.
rider. I have yet to see that hill in real life, although it is on the bucket list now.
There you go.
Now that things are opening up, like that is a place I want to visit in real life and lay eyes on that hill, if not necessarily maybe thrash myself as much going up.
Is that a hill you can like ride? Is
Yeah,
there a
I
race on
wonder
it?
about that. I wonder. No, there wouldn't be a race, I don't think, because it's like right in downtown
Is
Richmond.
it?
but I don't know whether you can ride it. I bet you could. It's real cobblestones though in real life. Like it's
Yeah,
like dunk 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 that kind of cobblestones.
Did you
yeah,
So
you didn't race there, did you, Jordan? Do you go to
no, but
like Worlds?
in 2015 the world's yeah, I had a couple buddies that did the U23 race for Canada there. And yeah, it was a serious climb. So a lot different than on Zwift. I think you like have to very carefully pick your line around the cobblestones. But yeah, it'll be cool to see it in real life and compare. I doubt I could get it up in it in a minute flat like on Zwift. I doubt it.
Wait, so I'm realizing that I know a lot less about you than I thought, Jordan. Have you like raced in the World Championships?
Just the Zwift World
Well,
Championships.
yes, thank you. Both of you have raced in the Zwift World Championships. That I knew.
Yeah. No, I kind of missed my U23 years, which is it's easier to go to the U23 World Championships. You just get more opportunities, more riders go. In Canada, we usually get to send maybe two, three riders to the world, so that's a tough cut to make.
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet, but sure would like to.
So that was just a beautiful introduction to the next thing on the agenda. All right. So Jackie, why don't you kick this one off? It was something you brought up when we were talking before the show.
yeah. So for those of you that don't know, March is kind of a big month in terms of the Olympics announcements. USA Cycling is going to restart some of their qualification processes, and the Olympic Organization Committee is actually going to continue to make announcements as to the venue, whether they're going to host, whether they're going to stick to the original dates, as well as a lot of the other Olympic organizing committees. So for those of us that um, are watching other sports besides March Madness, we've got a lot of excitement in that regard.
And so we had a question, and Jordan has since answered it, but I'm going to ask it again anyways. Jordan, any chance you go to the Olympics?
Definitely not to this Olympics. I think we get to send two or three riders again, and Mike Woods is ranked like fifth or fourth in the world right now, so I think he'll get to go. And then a couple World Tour riders. Uh,
Okay.
well, Canada has a real good crop of. We could probably send like 10 or 12 different riders to the Olympics, and they would be of the right caliber to do it. So,
Why only
uh,
two?
well, just because it's based on UCI points. So a country like Belgium has a million riders of a really high caliber, so they collect all the UCI points, and that grants them 6 spots or 7 spots instead. Canada doesn't have as many riders overall, so we generally get two or three for the events of the Olympics. So yeah, it's a numbers game, but and I think Canada is probably sticking to their selections. I don't think they're reselecting. So they already made a selection. I'm pretty sure it was Hugo Houle and Mike Woods and maybe Guillaume Boivin or something like that. I think it's already done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I asked Jackie the question too, like, is there a chance she's going to go to the Olympics in the triathlon? And she gave me an answer that I had no idea about, which is,
Yeah, so this is actually something that I really like to follow for triathlon. So um, in triathlon, there is no single Olympic qualifying race. Like in swimming, you have U.S. Olympic trials, and whoever makes the cut in that race makes the Olympics. But in triathlon, it's part of the IT series, and you accumulate points. And there are certain races, where you can get that coveted. And actually, what's really fun for me this year is two of my swimming teammates when I was in high school back in South Dakota are actually competing for the men's and women's triathlon team, respectively. So, I don't know what was in the water back in like Rapid City, South Dakota. We're a small town of 60,000 people. Um, but Tamara Gorman is really competing for that last spot on the women's team, and Tony Schmorgowitz is also going to be competing for that spot on the men's triathlon team. And it's so cool to watch because I was 3-4 years older than them. I was friends with their older siblings, and so watching them go from being like the awkward little kid in the water now to having this shot at qualifying for the Olympics is really, really cool.
So you're telling me you go home for Christmas and you're like, hey, I won the Chicago Triathlon this year. And people are like, you're the third best triathlete in this town, Jackie. Maybe tone it down a little.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I mean, these guys are awesome. I remember when Tony got a little older, when he was in high school, so it would have been my first year of college, you know, I came home to practice with the swim team, and he would just bike to practice, and he would not only bike to practice, bike to swim practice after getting his, like, 10-mile run in the morning. And he was just a phenomenal runner, so, you know, at that point, he already had his eyes set on, you know, this is where I wanna go with my.
wow.
The Olympic triathlon is one of the best events at the Olympics, in my opinion. It's very good viewing. I remember watching Simon Whitfield was one of the first times when he won in 2000. The first times I knew what endurance sports even were. So it's pretty crazy. Big Gwen Jorgensen fan in her day, and I don't know who's next for the U.S., but maybe one of Jackie's buddies will win the Olympics.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the US
What about you, Rick? Let's ask you: are you going to go to the Olympics? You asked both of us.
I mean, I don't know how much a ticket to Tokyo and all that costs, but I'm probably, you know, I mean, it's like I always told people about why I didn't make the NBA. If I was taller, better at basketball, faster and stronger, I easily could have made the NBA. It's kind of the same thing with all sports. Like with running, if I was just a lot faster, I could have been a pro runner. But
yeah,
that's in the cards.
I use that one in cycling too. Some guys will come after you a race. If this happened, and if I just had this, and if I had the bottle in the end, I would have. And you just say, yeah, if I had the legs, I would have won. If I had the legs.
Yeah. No,
So.
yeah. You know, the thing is, like, I ran with there's a world class runner here in Rockford, and I ended up interning at the same company he did when I was in college, and I was running these amazing workouts. You know, it'd be like 90 degrees out. I was doing mile repeats in 5 minutes with 2 minutes rest. Like I was just killing it for me. And he said he was like old and washed up. He was like 39 or 40, which is how old I am now. And he would do these mile repeats. He'd start 20 seconds behind me and he'd finish 10 seconds in front of me, every single one. And he was like, no, I used to do these way faster back in the day. And I realized I couldn't even conceive of a human doing that. And he wasn't, he got like 7th in the Chicago Marathon, which is amazing. Like, no joke. That's amazing. But like, you know, he was a couple minutes behind the winners, and I couldn't conceive of the things he could do. And that's when you kind of learn, like, no, I'm not going to the Olympics. I thought I had a chance. Turns out I don't.
All right. So none of us are going to the Olympics. To the next segment.
Yeah, to the next segment. All right. Premier League wrap up. Yeah, we'll probably have Jackie do the women's. Although you didn't see any of the other people, so they were just back there, right? No, I'm just kidding. So Premier League wrap up. Jordan, why don't you go first?
All right, we'll cover the men's side. Libby Hill. I did both the final 2 races for my team, so I was there when it happened. I wasn't very active in the end of the one. That was a very hard race. The drafting was weird. Like we ended up going like 53k an hour average, and it was just a constant like 5 watts a kilo. And you're thinking, oh, I might want to attack, shake things up. You can't attack faster than 53k an hour. So it was a weird race. The sprints were super hard, whether you're sprinting or not, and only 40 minutes. And we just rolled into that hill and it exploded. And I'll call myself out. I said that it would be a photo finish and that the algorithm would get it wrong. Quite the opposite. Freddie Ovet won by 2 seconds. So yeah, he did some ridiculous like 12 watts a kilo for the final minute, and then Canyon stacked the top 10 as they have been and took the win there. Good race, interesting race, having it so short and having that uphill finish. And then the final team.
Let's cover the TTT last because we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we got some.
So let's skip to
to set that up, that brought Canyon back within a single point of Ceres for the overall lead of the Premier League. So they were neck and neck for the final.
Yeah, so let's have Jacquie talk about the women's race first, and then we'll cover the controversy and what we think about it.
Yeah, so women's race was very, very similar to the men's. You know, there was just a blistering pace on the flats, and you know, we were hanging out at almost 5 watts per kilo on these flats, which is absolutely blistering for the women. And being my first race back in the Premier League, I was just appalled. I was like, oh my god, like, can I do this for 40 minutes? And like, if I'm holding 4.5 watts per kilo at 74 kilos is a terrible weigh-in. Like, what is everybody around me holding? Like, they must be. And what we saw, was that a lot of people used burner riders on the sprints.
Yeah.
Particularly for those first 2 sprints, we saw, I think the winner of the first sprint like just dropped off the back. Like, people really pushed these hard 15-second sprints. The only rider who really got a consistent, sprint points and good finish was Alice Lethbridge. She's a very, very consistent rider, does that a lot. She's a Tino rider, like very, very good at getting a lot of points. But again, just this very, very fast, elevated pace for 40 minutes going into Libby Hill. And I don't think we really saw the pace drop off until we were at that sort of like flat, the calm before the storm, Libby Hill. And then the race took off. Everybody really wanted to treat it like forward KOM. And, I went over a bit on this last program, and it is just a different climb. And so I stuck to the race plan we discussed. This is not a hill that you can positive split. Like, you really have to wait until that second turn. You have to wait until you hit that double degree incline to punch it. And I'll be honest, I thought I hit everything too late. I rolled into the hill in 20th. I thought, I missed my chance. I missed my draft. I'm not close enough to the front. But because the whole race had been at that very, very hot pace, when I came in, when I put down what ended up being 10 watts per kilo for that final incline, for that final 20 seconds, you really accelerate. And I don't think it's very easy to appreciate how quickly you can accelerate up the second half of that hill. And that's what made the difference, was just knowing how this hill goes. And I will actually recommend to everybody who has that hill on in their future to just practice going up a couple times. Like, see what happens if you hold the whole hill at, let's say your FTP, versus what happens if you hold the first half lower than the second half. Let's compare the times, because there really, really is a benefit to taking that hill in.
And it was super fun to watch your race. Like, the announcers were like, "It's between these 3. No one else can catch them." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, here comes Jacquie Gunn." It was so fun. I had like goosebumps. Like, you texted me after I was in a work meeting, and you texted me and you're like, "How was that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I think you texted the wrong person."
Let's highlight too. A lot of people get worked up about their Zwift weight and their weigh-ins and stuff. Jacquie had a bad weigh-in, her words, and then she won an uphill finish. So, like, don't let it get in your head. Power is power. You just got to bring it, and you can still win. It's not every single 0.1 of a kilo is not going to make or break your race. That's pretty cool.
And especially like if you get to the point where you're not, we're cyclists, we're riding for a long time. If we're not giving our body the fuel we need to cycle, we're not going to do well. If I'm like, oh God, I can't have that chocolate chip cookie, I'm going to be, half a kilo up, which it's a chocolate cookie. That had better be a really big cookie for half a kilo.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, I need that energy or I'm not going to make it up Libby Hill in the first place. Like, I'm going to keel over 2K in and just be like, I'm done.
Yeah, and that was a shockingly hard race. I mean, it was crazy. I had no idea it was going to be like that.
It felt like it was broken. It was like, why? It was like, this should be easier. It's on the flat.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't feel right. But
Yeah, like, I think that was one of the first races I have not been just, like, over biking at the front, and I had anxiety the whole time because 'cause I'm like, "I'm sitting in the draft and I'm dying, like, what am I doing wrong?"
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. So did Heino win that one again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know did the
They
series
got the
3.
points.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heino did really, really well getting those intermediate sprint points,
Okay.
and they clean up very well. I think that's what they do very, very well as a team strategy is they they're not always at the pointy end for that final finish, but they realize that this is overall points. They do an excellent job of getting those intermediate QOM or sprint points, and then they always have several riders in the top. So they do an excellent job of not necessarily having the star rider for each race, but having a whole team dynamic that just works really well to get them the points and get them that.
Yeah. They're they're amazing. So how'd the TTT go?
Uh, I know one. Again, just really emphasizing what they have going in terms of team dynamics with crisp crisp exchanges, having that order that they just stick to, having having a practiced role. And this is London, so there are going to be a bit of rollers. There's going to be disorganization, both on the whenever you go into the subway station, both with that downhill and with the uphill. I think that shatters all but the most well prepared teams. And it's not a question of what happens if you get separated, but how you deal with the separation and how quickly you can put yourself back together. Um, this was actually my first time in a TTT with Saris. So we did pretty well, but I think there's still a lot of room for improvement in terms of just learning each other because, like I said, I weighed in at 74 kilos. And so on rollers, that's very, very difficult to compensate for when the person who's trying to, stay in front of you maybe weighs in at 50.
Yeah.
And so it's like
Mhm.
you can no longer think in terms of what do my watts per kilo need to be? What do my watts need to be? You have to think in terms of what is my speed need to be? And that's
Mhm.
a level we're not quite used to thinking on. So I think it's going to be more practice, more getting used to the rolling order.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is for every team from pros to amateurs.
One thing I think really helps with that is learning how to draft in a Zwift race, learning how not to shoot through the pack. I mean, that's something I know I've personally spent a lot of time on because it's the only way I can make it in a race. But, you know, when you're doing that, I found out it was surprising how much it helped me in the TTTs because I would be with the rest of my team, but I would average less watts per kilo because I was so like, I didn't even need to look at my watts or anything to stay behind someone perfectly because like I said, I'm lazy, so that's what I practiced. Is like how can I use the least amount of watts? But I didn't. If you would have blanked out everything on the screen, I can still draft. Which,
Mhm.
which
You need to know that stuff intellectually, but then also practice it a million times because when your
yeah,
heart rate is 190, guys and gals start making bad choices with that and like, oh, I need to be in front of you right now. No, I need to be behind you. And it's like that
yeah,
stuff, just that little extra effort that's what kills you and breaks the rotation. So,
yeah.
but interesting. It's still even with fewer team time trials this time. It was decisive that discipline in the Premier League.
Yeah, so
Uh,
let's talk about the men. Let's talk a little bit about the controversy, and we'll keep rolling through.
all right. So on the men's side, so we came in. Canyon was behind Saris, and they needed 2 points to overtake them to win the overall Premier League. And Canyon had won the previous two team time trials. It was pretty like certain that they were going to win. They've been dominant there, but they also needed Saris then to come third or worse to win. And so Canyon went off and they passed the second team, which was PO Auto, about 2/3 into the race, maybe halfway into the race for 30 seconds. And then Piawato ended up finishing just a couple of seconds behind them at the finish. So they were in the draft distance, and there's no real footage that's like, damning or anything on the broadcast, at least. Um, but it was weird, and people made some accusations that they passed PO Auto and then they stayed there, and PO Auto benefited from that potentially and beat Saris at the finish. So Saris came third, PO Auto second, Canyon first, and the difference between Saris and PO Auto is only like 4 seconds at the end. So Canyon won by a single, not even a point. It went to count back on results, and Canyon won the series pending. There's no results on Zwift yet, so I'm betting there's a protest on that. But it's just a hard thing to decipher because it's not really Canyon's fault if his team stays behind them, and it's hard to know where. We don't have a draft rule, like it doesn't say you have to be 5 seconds behind the team, right? So you can't be on them, but where can you sit? So that's the controversy, and it's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you two both think about? I mean, I don't really want to weigh in on PO Auto and what they did or Canyon, because, like, I mean, if you win or, kind of like we were talking about before the show a little bit, I always think it's on the team that gets passed to
back off.
I know they have some rules in there, like the team going has to push forward, but to me, that's not right. Like you just continue, don't slow down, but like continue doing what you're doing. It's on the other team to get 20, 30, 40 meters off the back, at least.
Yeah. I don't know what Jackie thinks about it.
Yeah. In triathlon, they have very specific rules for this. Like they have a specific distance that is your drafting zone. They have a specific time, and it is always on the rider who passes behind. So once the rider who passes you, once their front wheel crosses yours, it is your responsibility to drop back out of the draft zone within a timely fashion. Now, how that would work. Now, again, this is for safety reasons, because in triathlon, you're in aero position. We're not on road bikes. We're doing flat stuff, and it's quite frankly dangerous to be drafting in that sort of thing. So, when we try to translate to the virtual world and say, well, really, do these safety measures, should we factor them in? Should we embrace this as a bug or a feature of this new racing style?
Yeah.
And I will say on RGT, with a lot of these circuit style races where people get passed, we've had a lot of controversy as well. Is it acceptable for racers who get lapped to hop on the draft? And there, it was very much a gentleman's agreement. Yes, you slow down temporarily, you let the front of the field continue until it actually messed up a race. And the organizers had to send out an email and said, if you do not do this, we will reserve the right to pursue sanctions, drop you from the race.
Right.
I think Zwift will probably need to come to some sort of reckoning as to, is this a feature or a bug? Do we need to put in disqualification rules, like it is your responsibility? Or can we just do something a little softer, like, well, you can't draft off of people not in your team, and make a software fix for that?
I agree.
I will say, even at the, this is probably the first time we've really seen it play out at the pro level. It's very rampant, actually, at the amateur level. The team I DS for, first 10 minutes of the race, same course, Tuesday night, they passed the team in front of them. So, thinking there's a very good power differential there. They approached very quickly, should have been able to pass this team theoretically very quickly. This team purposefully hopped on, never took the lead, created an 8-person draft. And once they have their pace line going, you can't shake them. Like, how do you put forward that much more power? Especially if you're, in maybe a slightly power mismatched community league where you've got like an A racer and like a B+ racer. So it's definitely at this point disrespectful of the spirit of the game, but I think we need to, as a sport, decide, is this illegal? Is this disrespectful but fine? Or is this something we just need to program so that it can't happen?
I mean,
Yeah.
one suggestion that I mean I just thought of when you were talking, Jackie, is like they could do every other team in a different race. So they could double, so like the stagger is a minute in terms of the race, but then it's 30 seconds in terms of when the teams actually go or something. Where it's like you only see this field, you only see this field, and then you have a much bigger differential of the teams that
That's
are
what I That's what I was going to say too, is like it's not really the other teams. Obviously, sitting in the other team's draft for like 10K is pretty blatantly cheating. But if you end up in and out of another team's draft, it's not really your fault on Zwift to a large degree because unlike on in triathlon, the Zwift draft is magnetic, right? Like
Yeah.
it'll pull you right up. That doesn't happen in real life. And so it's hard to stay out of that. And 30 seconds is not enough
yeah.
to over a 40-minute time trial. Like, you could pass like 6 teams if you were
Oh
if
yeah.
you're going, and if you benefit by 3 seconds every time you catch the magnetic draft and go by, even that part of it is a little dubious. So it needs to, I think the minute staggers would help a lot and maybe fix it, a software fix. But
And
um
I mean, in the
yeah.
community leagues, it's even worse because there's a huge disparity in these teams. I mean, just speaking from our personal experience, we would always pass 3 or 4 teams every time, and
uh,
some of it's because you get no, no. Well, it's like where we were in the wrong division. Like we should have been promoted. We don't know why we weren't. All that sort of stuff. But it's like even in the best seeded community team, the difference between the 15th best team and the first team, you're talking like 2 or 3 minutes for
yeah.
sure. I mean, these are huge disparities that they got to figure out how to deal with. So, yeah, it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that next season. Um, and I saw Sammy's questions. We'll get to that at the end. Some of the stuff on Ovid. So I also wanted, maybe this is a good time to kind of mess up the yeah, I guess the order of our agenda. Did you all see the next ZRL season came out, or like some details about it? And I was wondering what your thoughts were.
So first off, I like Tuesdays.
Great.
That's good. I although Echelon Racing League and my weekend racing commitments are coming to an end, I think putting it on Tuesdays such that we can continue to have these weekend commitments, such that we can continue to have our weekend volume rides, I think that's great.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
think that is a positive step. I think that is a sign that they listened to feedback and made a change.
that's smart. Yeah, I agree. That's smart, especially since a lot of places will have real life racing. And so, people that are racing Saturday, Sunday are going to be not inclined to go again on Monday. And then it's nice, I think, to have it on the same day as the community league and just package it all into one. And maybe that's the main event of one, big day. So I don't know what other changes there are, Rick, other than the day.
They changed the times a little bit,
Uh,
and the word is that the courses are shorter. I don't
the
know.
races.
That's the word on the street, word on the virtual streets, Jordan. I don't know.
So a 39-minute race for Libby Hill was not short enough. We got to go. Do you want to
Listen,
do like?
listen, pros. Some of
I
us
know,
want
but
our
why-
races shorter, okay?
They need to separate it because 40 minutes is not long enough to do a bike race, especially like, it's too predictable. For the lower categories, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like some of those, I kind of like the hyper short races, like the 10-minuters and stuff. Those are interesting, but
Oh, you just want to do Bologna TT, but with drafting on. That's
yeah,
fine.
some of those New York Park ones too, like the 5K courses and stuff, some crazy stuff happens, but I don't know, man. Like how much shorter do you want it to be? I we talked about making different distances for different categories last time, so maybe that's the solution. But yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of the way everything goes. Yeah, I'm really excited to.
And I will throw this in about the time change. Um, Unfortunately, I really don't think it fixes a lot of the availability issues for athletes in North, South, and Central America. I think it's still at a very difficult time. Um, but I think changing the time season to season might be a good way to start introducing some of the regionality we were talking about and saying, maybe season one is best for Australia and Oceania. Maybe season two is more focused on the European segment. Season three is better for the Americas. And that way you have a little bit of more regionality. You have the time shift so you can get different audiences. You can get different athletes competing. And that way it's a little more intuitive and you still get a season, you still get time off, but Zwift gets its continuous content.
Yeah.
how about you, Rick? As a community racer, how does the new stuff make you feel? Is it more enticing? Same,
Same. Same.
same.
I mean,
You like shorter races though.
I
If that
actually don't. I don't really care. I would like more variety. Um, so like I've said, I am a bit of a just sit and do nothing as long as I can. I mean, that's my best Swift skill is drafting. Like it sounds ridiculous, but
It's useful.
I mean, I very rarely am I not the lowest watt per kg person. And assuming I'm finishing with the top group most of the time, um, you know, it's a skill to have, right? The thing about the ZRL is it just hammers you every single week. And I mean, I was super burnt out. I've taken off since the Libby Hill race where I got dropped off the back. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I wish the races were on weekends. I'm glad they are an hour earlier because now I'm not going to finish by the time I was all done like 8:15, 8:30 and eat dinner and I mean Central Time Zone. Um so yeah, I mean I like the changes. I would like there to be uh so if it were me, right? Um
Yeah.
I
and
would
it should be
yeah,
really. It
I mean
should be
really
unique.
yes, thank you. Could you talk to my wife? Uh No, so like it'd be cool if, like you said, there were one night we did 3 10-minute sprint races,
Love
and
it.
then one night we did a 2.5 hour race where, you could make a breakaway. Or one time we climbed up the Alp, which I super don't want to do, but it'd be cool to do once. Like
Team time trial up the Alp.
it could be,
Oh my god.
Be
it could
great.
be, that's a great day for my teammates to really go after that one, right?
For you to not race.
Yeah, I'm a really good DS on those days. I'm good at eating cheesecake. I'm good, but no, like I just like what I felt like, and I'm glad they're making changes. I'm glad they're making improvements. That's super good for the Premier League. Um, but yeah, I guess I would like to see some variability because I don't like getting thrashed like that on a Tuesday night. I mean, that's just it's a hard time. Like I'm already tired and stuff, which is no big deal. But like I would just like to see something different. You know,
But I want to go one step further and say that I don't think it would just be great for the Premier League. I think it would be great for the Community League because we're going to start highlighting different types of riders.
yeah.
And I think that's one thing everybody likes. Everybody likes to be good at something. And so if we have
some
all of these different
strategy.
races, we're going to have more people discover, like, man, you know what? I am the queen of like a 10-minute TT. Or like, absolutely, you know what? A downhill race, that's my thing.
Well,
Like,
we get some galaxy brain stuff with the tactics, right? Like, how do I deploy my
yeah,
resources over 3 races of 10 minutes?
Well,
yeah,
Like,
like
it'd be
I
cool.
think it's
yeah.
really going to see more people just discover, like, hey, I'm awesome, like, and have that moment in the sun, which is fun, it's rejuvenating, and it really kind of lights a fire under you of like, I'm awesome.
And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
good. Let's do this again next week.
right. And so like maybe they split it up and you have 6 riders and everyone rides in a flight. So everybody's sixth rider versus everybody's sixth rider. Everybody, and that way more people get a chance to win. Because in our races, I mean, I normally finish with the front group except the last Libby Hill race, but like it was the same 20 dudes going to the finish every time.
I know I would be in the flight with Freddie
Well,
Ovett.
I mean, you should be. You're a professional cyclist going to the Olympics, Jordan.
Yes.
But no, like, I mean, how cool is it for the person who normally doesn't finish with the leaders to win a race, to get fifth?
Damn.
Instead of getting just thrashed by, I mean, these teams that are super deep and heavy and just hammering, it would just be, I just want to see variability. I want to see more people winning. I just like, it's like I was telling you guys, I mean, the reason I started this channel is try to do stuff like listening in the team cars because I always wanted to do that. Like, that's the cool thing about Zwift. You can do anything. You could do anything. You could do whatever you wanted. You could do a race where the teams have to go backwards and see who finishes first. I mean, you could do anything.
You could.
Like maybe it's a huge flop, but who knows?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I could go on about that forever. Yeah, I tell you what, let's hop in the team interview, and after that, we're going to do a racers of the week. And yeah, so let's see if this team interview boots right, or I'm going to have to do some jumping around.
Good.
It is indeed not booting right. So let me pull it up. I already figured that there was a pretty strong possibility I wasn't going to get this to work right. So, this is the way things go sometimes.
Flexibility is the name of the game.
And there's our agenda. We'll get there. Sorry, everybody.
While Rick works, I can introduce this is an interview. We changed the format to make it a little more quick and punchy. So this is ATP giving you a quick 2-minute rundown on everything ATP, so you can learn about the team, everything that's important. And so if any team wants to submit a quick little punch like that, contact us and we can get it's a nice little 2-minute ad for your team, and it's free for now. So there you go.
Yeah. Hopefully free forever. Yeah, I know. Velocity, Vixen, and Fox reached out, so they'll be next up. And thank you guys for reaching out, and you'll be soon. So here's John from ATP.
Hey y'all, John Moore, manager.
Thanks. Don't have sound. All right. Well, now we don't have sound from it for some reason. So let me pull it up a different way. This is just going to be one of those days for me, I suppose.
Like experimenting with all those races on Zwift.
Yeah, see, I mean,
try things, see what works, and if it works, keep going forward with it.
I live it.
Technical difficulties is why people tune in. That's what gets
people. It just shows I'm human,
Thanks.
I was going to say, it takes you 3 minutes to fix this. Don't worry, it took me 5 years to overcome technical difficulties for my PhD.
See,
so you're doing great.
There we go. All right, I think it'll go now. Hopefully.
Hey y'all, John Moore, manager. Thanks to No Breakaways and team for highlighting ATP week. Said they had I have a couple minutes to talk about. So first thing is what makes the team special, fun, involved. There are so many stories that are just amazing. We have a person that has pedaled his bike on a flat surface at 72 miles an hour for Eric, and we have somebody who's done the Trans America race, finished in the top 10. We have professional athletes, ex-professional or retired professional. People, if you do anything with any of these teams, just find out about the people. Philosophy, goals of the team is we are team event focused. We find and target events that have team standings. We do like to see our people do well, but we're targeting team standings. Tuesday nights, we race the Zwift Racing League. Thursdays, we do the WTRL team time trial. Weekends, we try to hit the herd series, especially in preparation for their upcoming team standings. If you're in a race and you see some people with Team ATP are around you, they are most likely working together. We try to implement team tactics as much as possible in Zwift racing. We will coordinate a break. We will try to slow a peloton down intentionally while there's somebody off the front. We will decide when and if we're going to help close breaks and support breaks. We will do lead outs with sprints. And we will also work together to conserve energy for, say, a rider who's a hill climbing specialist and try to get that rider to the climb with as little as energy as possible to turn the rider loose. We have a lot of fun doing this, and it has absolutely changed the nature of Zwift racing. We also do the 6v6 series that No Breakaways it covers, and I think we may have done the most of them, but again, that is a complete tactical race, and it's kind of what we're looking for. So hopefully you'll see some crazy bright kits on the course any day now. But ATP racing team, all about team. Thanks, Rick.
All right, so that's John from ATP. Let me tell you, they have done a bunch of the 6v6 races. Super cool organization. One of the things that he was talking about, where you race with a team, I know I just recently joined a team a while ago. It is so fun racing with teammates. Like, I cannot tell you, like, when you have a DS on and they're like, okay, this person attacked, now these people attack. Now it's just, it brings Zwift racing to a totally different level. It's so fun. I can't recommend it enough. And, you know, if you do like racing, if you want to be on a competitive race team, and you're going to see in here in a second, ATP had a lot of teams win or in the top 3 of the Zwift World Championships here. That was a past weekend. Super cool team. A lot of these teams we've mentioned are all put together some really cool stuff. So yeah, did either of you have anything to contribute there to my spiel?
About ATP?
And just racing with the team, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Racing with the team. It's awesome. Like having a DS standing there, because when you're racing, when you're putting it all on the line, like, let's be honest, this gets a little stupid sometimes. So if you have a little voice of reason there being like, no, chill out, like save it for the sprint, or you know what, I think you can go for this sprint line. Like it's really cool, and it can really help you get to that next level of motivation or fitness, or help you move up in places. Like it is really cool just to have that extra layer of support and motivation right there for you.
Yeah. And misery loves company. So when you're in the box suffering, I mean, you have 5 other guys with you right in the same spot. Makes it seem somehow more fair.
So I know Jordan plugs his thing a lot. I'm going to plug No Breakaways a little bit. This Tuesday, we have a big 6v6 race. One of the Women's Premier League race winners, right down there, is going to be in the race. So Team Riot versus Team Abesk Finesse, something like that.
AF.
AF. Going to be super fun. Lot of killer women in it. This is like an A+++ race.
That's Tuesday, right?
That's Tuesday at 6:30 Central Time, or some other time for all you other people.
Would you care to know who the DS will be for the AF team?
Is it you? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you two are going mano a mano.
I have like the basement turned into a war room with like all the the things on the wall, and yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you gonna put a stick in Jackie's virtual spokes?
Yeah. No.
Before you joined this call, Jacquie said her plan was to go 6 watts per kilo the whole time off the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'll think of an answer to that. Probably take a while.
Yeah. No. So that's that'll be super fun. And those 6v6 races, we'll probably have a little bit of a lull during the summer. In general, we'll talk a little bit more about that later too. But if you have a team and you're interested in doing some of these 6v6s, they're really fun. It's a different type of Zwift racing, totally different than anything I think you've ever done. And it seems like it's a lot more strategic as well. So it should be super cool. I'm excited to hear what Jackie thinks about it.
I'm looking forward to the chaos. I'm looking forward to something new.
Yeah, it's definitely something new. So yeah, so we're gonna go through the riders of the week. Originally, I was hoping Jordan and Jackie could read these off, but I can't get my screen to share for some reason. So I'm gonna read them all off. And if you guys have any comments, just jump on in.
I'll just Vanna White over here.
Yeah. Well, you won't even be on screen, but you can still Vanna White. I'll see you.
We'll just do a tennis clap the entire time.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, here we go. So we're going to go through all the Community League teams, all the winners, or the top three. The A group, the A teams that are going up to the Premier League are, for the women, Project Beast Mode turned in a dominant performance. Team Abesk Finesse, the AF team, who's Jackie's racing on Tuesday, and the Turbo Women. Congratulations. For the men, BZR Sports Solid, we have Next Level and Beast Mode Crew. So the category, B category men world champions, Kirchmer BBs. I know, I love that they did the world champions. DBR Tornadoes, and our first dirt team, you'll see some other ones, the Dirty Beast Hellhounds. Shout out to Eric Schlang, who was on that team from Zwift Insider. The category B women, the ATP, there we go, some ATP love. The ATP Racing Stingers, Socks for Watts, SBR Cake, and the Audi women. Socks for Watts is one of my favorite team names, I gotta say. The category C men, the TBR 44T, Belgian Zwift Riders Rhinos, and the BRT Badgers. The category C women, we have Herd of Otters 1, indicating there are multiple herds of otters. The Aeonian Chicas and the Herd of Meerkats coming in third. So congrats to Herd there on just dominating the C category Women World Championships.
World champion.
Pretty cool. I know. I love it.
They gotta get world champion jerseys for these.
Oh, like, that would be so cool. That would be.
You get to wear this through the next series.
Yeah,
see, like a helmet with the yeah, that'd be cool.
No breakaways where the ideas happen. Right here, I love that idea. The Cat D men, the Dirty Dogs, the SZ Friege, which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. Team Swedish Swift Riders, and the Kirchmer Bumblebees, second Kirchmer team. D category women, Herd of Dolphins, the Herd of Blistering Bobcats, not to be confused with any of the other herds of Bobcats, and the BRT Blazing Kittens. Congrats to everybody. The D category women, I believe, have easily the best names of the category women world championships, with the Blistering Bobcats and the Blazing Kittens. Yeah, lots of I don't know about the Blazing Kittens though. We might want to.
You know, I do have one amendment to the Zwift rules that I just want to propose right now. It's the same rules we use for Trivia Night. Best team name gets an automatic extra point.
I love it. I love it. That would be really good.
I think Herd of Dolphins is my choice for the irony of that.
Those are really good. There's a lot of really good team names, and this is definitely shouting out my team. If you haven't been checking out the Draft B announcements or the team announcements with the pictures of the team, go to the Draft Instagram, check them out. David Torello bringing his, he's now an A rider. He's bringing his A game on those announcements. I promise you will like them. David really brings it to a different level than a lot of the other Zwift teams. We were featured in the World of Zwift one of those weeks. So
congrats.
I know. I'm basically famous now. So
Enjoy.
no big deal. I know. I walk down the street, everybody's looking at me. It's pretty cool.
Must be hard.
It is really hard. It's what you got to do, right? All right. So next up, we have our one big thing. Jackie, this is an awesome one and I love it. keeping your bike clean indoors. I think you were just talking about riding, but I want to talk about even more than that. So, Jackie, you kick us off on this one. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so obviously when you bike outdoors, it's real easy to tell when your bike gets dirty because there is literal dirt on it. And when you bike indoors, you don't think about how much sweat is falling on your bike. Like, it's really gross. My fiance actually rusted out his back brake caliper, sweating so much onto that.
Wait,
It's got a sweaty butt.
Yeah,
I wasn't going
like,
to say it, Jordan. That was too far.
So, so I actually have 3 things that I do to keep my bike clean. One, like, even though it's indoors, we do a full clean once a month. Like, you just sweat a lot. It's gross. 2,
Well, hold on. I got a question.
Yep.
It's December. No, let's say it's January in Chicago. How are you cleaning your bike?
I bundle up, I go out on my little porch, and I have, a plus or minus week window. So because it is Chicago, it is the Midwest, you can expect at least a 20-degree difference between the best days and the worst days.
Mm-hmm.
You check your calendar, you're like, all right, which weekend is it going to be like mildly more tolerable?
To clean your bike.
Calendar, you go out, you like 15-minute like sprint clean the bike, you run back in.
I picture that whoever lives across the street from you once a month is like, hey, Susie, that crazy lady's out cleaning her bike again.
Yeah. She never actually rides the bicycle outside.
Never seen her ride it. She's cleaning it again.
Yeah. Keeping your bike clean is important now because of those friction watts,
All right. So
especially in the Premier League, you want that trainer to read as high as your pedals or your crank.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Jackie, I cut you off. That was number 1.
Number 1. Number 2 is the bike thong.
Yeah.
And yes, I believe that is the technical term.
It is.
God, that gets sweaty too. Dear God, that gets laundered more often than my bike gets washed. Oh, but I love the one I have. I love that they sell one with snarky comments on them now. I think mine says "shut up legs." I found that one on Amazon and I just loved it. I was like, this is so appropriate. We're keeping it.
Yeah.
And then third, and if you've ever seen my live feed on Zwift or on Echelon Racing League, you will notice that I have old socks taped all over my bike. So these are all of the orphan socks that lost their partner in the laundry, because this is their true use now. If a sock loses its partner, it's consigned to the bike bin. And I actually tape them over, the brake calipers, the top tube, anywhere that's going to really collect sweat that's not protected by that bike thong. And since we're indoors, it's not going to fall off. It's not going to cause any draft. Like, it can sit there.
There's a lady washing her bike with a bunch of socks on it. I like that. That's very that's cutting edge.
I wouldn't have got that one.
Yep. New use, new life for all of those orphan socks.
I like it.
And at the end of the month, you just take them off and you're like, oh, laundry. No extra work.
So the one thing,
or what happens to these?
So I don't sock my bike up, but what I do is I put a towel, like I have the bike thong thing too, which I like, but I put a towel over my handlebars, and then I have a sweat rag that I can pick up as well. And I have nothing on my bike is rusted from riding indoors. A couple like bolts on my bottle cages are, but that happened before I started riding indoors. So yeah, that's like catch your extra sweat instead of like I always wipe my face off. I'm just weird about it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree. That is so key.
Yeah, like, I'm a salty sweater. I'm a salty sweater. So in the days before Zwift, I did some pretty horrible things to the cockpits of my bike. Like before any of this stuff was really mainstream, I was riding 3 hours indoors and like ruined a few headsets with that sweat. I just clean the drivetrain every week. I think it's a good excuse to do like a full clean on the drivetrain. is if you're doing dual recording and you want to get all those friction watts, keep a good clean drivetrain. Wipe the bike down. I'll just use Armor All wipes or something on the frame, just to get the goop off of it. But I don't usually spray my bike down unless it's been a really nasty day outside. But
all right, Jordan, question for your drivetrain.
yes,
are you wet lube or dry lube?
I like the Squirt wax lube. I think the tests show that to be among the fastest lubes available, and it's pretty cheap. I think you can get it for $12 a bottle. So I'm not going to be taking my chain off and putting it in a crock pot or anything like that. Not that kind of character. Yeah, just use that, and I think it's 98% as good, and it saves me looking like a crazy person. I think it'd be crazier if somebody came over to your house and you had a crock pot going, and it's like, oh, what's for dinner? No, it's just bike chains. I just got to get them clean and stuff, So no, that's all I do. But I think consistency is the most important part. You can't leave that stuff for weeks and weeks. It's just your job is going to be insurmountable. It's going to be so filthy.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at it. Especially I need to wash my drivetrain more. I'm sure I lose watts from that. But what are you gonna do when you're averaging 3.2 in those B races? You need every watt you can get. So,
yeah, you're gonna need drivetrain.
No, I can't believe your fiance rusted out your brake caliper. That's crazy. Oh, Luke.
I mean, we had a lot of indoor riding. It was like, oh God, we are stuck inside. We can't leave the house. And he started baking sourdough before it was cool. So what else was there to do during lockdown? It was like, all right, we're spending 3 hours a day on this bike because it is either that or bake. And if you bake, I need to bike more. This is a terrible cycle to get stuck in.
There's this website I found to pass the time. It's called Netflix. They have a variety of entertainment options, and you'd be surprised. Yeah,
but that is not making my life any better, because for the past 3 weeks, I've been binge watching Great British Bake Off, which leads to the nasty cycle of I have to do 15 more minutes to finish this episode, which also leads to the nasty cycle of my fiance watched the technical where they did the naan bread, which led to him being inspired to make me naan bread, which led to me needing to do more cycling and more Great British Bake Off. Again, we're back in the cycle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want, you can join Jordan and I's watch party where we watch the teen romantic movies on Netflix. We do it once or twice a day. So just let us know, Jackie.
Back to back. Yeah. We have our Discord on that, actually.
Yeah, that's what we use this channel you're on for when we're not using it. You see us on sometime. No big deal.
Oh, so what's the next up on your watch list?
Well, we just watched A Part of Me, I think. I actually watched that with my wife.
I mean, and we're almost through Gossip Girl, and I have a pretty good idea who Gossip Girl is, but Rick has no idea.
No, that's not true. I'm here to report I have seen Gossip Girl. This started off as a joke.
You cheated on me. You watched it through.
It started as a joke. I've seen all the Gossip Girls. I've seen all the Gilmore Girls.
I'm watching Gilmore Girls currently.
Are you really? Did we veer from joke into real life for us?
That's true.
Poor Jackie is I need to get out of this show ASAP.
No, I mean, and let me tell you, I am a Luke man. Christopher can go to hell.
Yeah.
He's not a good man for Lorelai.
No, he's
Luke
bad.
Is steady, and he is caring, and he's a real man.
You're not all the way through it, though? Okay, I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lorelai and Rory, though, they're my jam. I started because Lorelai every year goes into Rory's bedroom at the exact time she was born and describes how horrible it was having her. And I thought, oh, I'll do that with my kids. I mean, obviously I didn't have my kids, but I'd be go in and say happy birthday. That is more of something people do in TV shows than real life, I discovered. Because my daughter is I'm going to go play with my friends. Please stop talking to me. Yeah. So, yeah, things aren't the same in TV. So, okay. Well, we should probably stop talking about The viewership dropped down to negative 40 viewers right now.
Pretty cool. Scientifically, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
actually.
amazing. You didn't know YouTube. If enough people drop off, it just keeps going. Yeah. All right, so let's hop in. What's next for outside the draft? We haven't had like a fully fledged discussion. We're probably going to take some sort of break in the during the summer. Sorry, my son's here. At least lighten things up. We want to do it, I think, somewhat in tandem with ZRL, but we're gonna have some conversations. Probably for sure there won't be one next week. We love that everybody's watching, and we're gaining some viewership. It's super fun. I think we all enjoy it, but we're probably gonna reinvent it a little bit, probably on a different day too. But we'll be talking about it, and we'll let you know as soon as we do. So I just wanted to cover that. Do you two have any thoughts or anything you want to share? I mean, I know Jackie's getting married soon. So
yeah, I have lots of life changes coming up, so it's definitely going to be part of the bigger picture of what happens going forward. In a week and a half, I find out where I'm going to go for residency. So it's like, where will I be moving in July? Who knows? So I think in the next couple weeks there's going to be lots of moving pieces, and this has been a great part, and we'll see how that continues to fit.
Yeah, and I mean, I love doing the show. I probably shouldn't talk so much about Gilmore Girls, but it's been really fun. So we want to keep doing it, but if I know some of you, like, Sammy's always watching. A lot of you always watching. We really appreciate it. We're gonna kind of figure out what makes sense. There's a lot of life stuff going on for I think all three of us. I mean, Jordan's racing season is probably going to start relatively soon as well. So we will figure it out, and we will come back. But we just want to let everybody know it's going to be a little bit up in the air here for a while. I'll probably post on Instagram and Facebook. Just go ahead and follow, and I'll let you know what's going on, and we'll make sure we're communicating. So. And by the way, congratulations. Are you Dr. Jacquie Godby?
So I have the PhD. I will not have the MD until May. So I am technically a doctor, just not that type of doctor yet.
I just renamed you on our thing. So I renamed you Dr. Jacquie Godby.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's okay we still use Jacquie, and we don't have to call you Dr. Godby from now on.
Only my dad has to call me that. He gave me such a hard time. Because he's a medical doctor, he's a surgeon. And so he'd always joke with me when I was going through my PhD, that's not a real doctor. And I was like, Dad, when I get my PhD, like, you have 24 hours where you can call me nothing but Dr. Godby.
Yeah. Well,
and then the joke was,
now you can show him this. Like, what's more official than you are on the internet as Dr. Jacquie Godby? What more?
Med school in May. The deal is, he has 24 hours of having to call me Dr. Godby.
Doctor.
Like, that's the rule, Dad. I don't make it. You got one day. This is what it is.
You should make him be on call that day, or when you call and want to be referred to as Dr. Jacquie, Dr. Godby. Like, middle of the night, you're like calling him. Get back to me. Call me up. So we did have a couple. Was there anything else you guys wanted to cover today?
No, let's get to those questions.
Yeah. So Sammy wondered. He wants to know what everybody thinks about Freddie Ovett and his impact on the Premier League, as we've talked about. And I would like to maybe lump Heino in with the same thing. Obviously, Heino is a team, not an individual. And as we found out in week 7, individuals can win. Different individuals can win. But, like, what do you think about these either dominant riders or dominant teams in the Premier League? Do you think that kind of like a rising tide with all this is going to even it out over time? Or, do you think more people like, say, a Freddie Ovett are going to come into this? He's a World Tour rider, correct?
No, he was a continental pro, like at my level. And he has continued with Legion. So that's his level. But I can speak to the Freddie Ovett phenomenon. And, like, obviously, we'll give the benefit of the doubt that he's just this exceptional athlete and he's got these characteristics that lend themselves well to Zwift. I don't think it's a problem with Freddie Ovett. I think it's a problem with the Zwift game itself at this level. The fact that like one person can dominate to that degree kind of shows the fact that tactics are more or less irrelevant at the Premier League level, at least on the men's side. There's nothing, because obviously every other team, Canyon, they would like to win these races, and they would like to prevent Freddie Ovett from doing so, but there's nothing they can do. Mm-hmm. And you think that because Freddie's often the only rider on his team scoring points, period. And not to say the other guys aren't strong, but they're not. Canyon's top 5 guys are all better on Zwift than Legion's bottom 4 after Freddie. So it's like in real life, if there's one guy winning all the races, you just keep attacking that guy until he's not in the lead group anymore. There's tactical ways around it. You still win a lot of races, but yeah, I think that just shows that, room for growth in terms of the physics, the format. In a 6x6, I don't think you'd see, one rider winning every time, right? Because it's so tactical. Mm-hmm. So that's the other extreme. But yeah, I think that's a little, it's a little disappointing for the viewers that there's not any comparison, like there's no suspense with that. But Heino's a different story, I think, because it is a team dominating a team event. So they're just playing it exactly right, And I don't know how Jackie feels about that.
I think what we're going to see with Heino particularly is, they've done a very good job of developing a team strategy. And I think we are seeing other teams developing cohesive team strategies. I think we are seeing other teams looking at Heino and saying, what are they doing right? How can we imitate that? And that, there is a lag right now where Heino succeeds because they're the only ones doing it. But it's not only them that can do it. I think we just have to get other teams on the learning curve. I know for a fact that, on Ceres, the pros closet, we are actively looking at how do we improve our team strategy? How do we get more people to score? How do we improve our team TT? So I think we are moving more towards that. This is a team event rather than individual event. Just like you said, this series is not going to be won by Freddie Ovett. This series is going to be won by the deepest team that can continue to get out these. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to evolve out, at least for Team Heino. They may continue being the top, but I think they're gonna start seeing some stiff competition.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I guess I always lose sight of the fact that we're at the very start of virtual cycling. Like, it feels like it's been around forever. In reality, Zwift has only been around 6 years, and virtual cycling in its current format has really only been around 2 years, Mm-hmm. And so yeah, somebody's going to be the New England Patriots of Zwift and figure it out before people.
I was thinking more this is when they invent new strokes in swimming. Who is that first person to do the 200 breaststroke?
Yeah,
they did it completely different. So there are going to be continued iterations, and we're lucky enough to see that and kind of be witnessing that evolution.
Well, I think you two are also interesting because, and I mean, yeah, if you kind of look at it, there is this rising tide. Neither of you were in the Premier League season 1, but we're getting better and better riders. And, once you figure out your schedule and can work things around it, I know Mana Lee talked about kind of how she juggles her schedule when I was talking to her. It's a big thing for people to try to do that. But as there gets to be some amount of consistency, and that this day, this time is our big Zwift race, maybe you're going to see more and more strong people be able to execute those team tactics.
I for one, would love to see more of the UCI World Riders show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the more legitimate we can make this sport, the deeper pool of talent we're going to be competing from. And then, maybe we're not talking about this one continental rider. It's going to be these 10 continental riders, these these real life racers that we see in the Olympics are showing up on Zwift as e-racing becomes more legitimized.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I think that's it for this week. We definitely went over our expected time of 32 to 44 minutes. But always fun. So yeah, Jordan, thanks for coming on. Anything you want to promote, talk about?
No, I just thanks everybody for tuning in. I can't believe we did what 7 of these. Like it just flew by. It's awesome, and I really enjoyed it. And I will continue to do it in some format because it's been great to see the viewership rise and people's positive comments and stuff. So if you like to hear us talking, I'll keep talking.
Definitely. Jackie, how about you?
Gonna promote noon again for all you salty sweaters out there. But again, thanks for having me on the show. I think it's been so fun to just, shoot the shit with you guys. And, like we said, this is an evolving sport. So it's really exciting to just be talking about being on the ground level and what we want to see change and knowing that it will change. It's been absolutely so much fun.
Yeah.
And Jackie waited until the last minute of the final episode to get the first swear in.
I know. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And thank you
Good
both.
shit right there.
Thank you both for joining us. I'm not going to swear because I'm very fancy. But no, thank you both for coming on the show. It's been super fun. Some of the comments about, people want more tactics. People want to see our races. People love that Libby Hill analysis. We're going to get more of that. Stay tuned into No Breakaways. I'll probably, once we know more, we'll let you know, and we'll be getting out some other videos and things like that. Thanks you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.